Awesome, great, glorious day it is. This is the day the Lord has made, and indeed we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Umubanga podcast, where we are here to inspire, transform, and motivate. So hope you're tuned in and hope you're ready for this exciting episode. And today I have an amazing, awesome guest. You have probably heard his voice like over and over. I know some of you even in your cars, you mimic it. You even know what it says. So, yeah. So I'll read an introduction, a bio of him. So Kamiza Chikula is a consummate communicator with nearly 3 decades of experience in marketing, public relations, and corporate communications. He has held numerous high-profile positions in several international organizations such as MultiChoice Zambia, Habitat for Humanity Zambia, Barclays Bank Zambia, Standard Chartered, and the list goes on. In 2015, he established Feyra Communications, or in brackets, Feyra Comms for short, a company offering bespoke corporate communication services, and has held his own hosting state functions, high-profile corporate events, the Zambia Tourism Awards, public speaking and communications workshops, as well as the MTN Group Yellow Star Awards, alongside Joanne Strauss at the Johannesburg City Hall. His voiceover reputation is certainly renowned in Zambia, and he is a good example of Zambia Kuchalo. You know the drill, eh? Zambia Kuchalo. Representing our colors across the globe, his personal philosophy is to remain a champion, think and train like a contender, and he is here to contend on the Umubanga podcast platform. Ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual hands together or put your physical hands together for the one and only Kamiza Chikula.
That's quite an intro.
Yeah. How does it feel listening to a bio of yourself being read?
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It leaves me saying, wow, God is good.
Yeah.
Like, all that, eh? Like, I've had a chance to live through that. So, and I know it's not by my own strength. So I'm always grateful for that. Yeah. And I count it a privilege to be able to hear these accolades and like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've actually done that. And I say to myself, you know what? God has really, really been very, very good to me.
Yeah. So, look, pretty much any person in the corporate space or state events, most others have even watched you on TV and all. And you're a national brand, you're a national asset. I know there are times the head of state is like, oh, I'm looking for, they even know you by name. I'm looking for Kamiza. Where's, even as they're about to give a speech, they're like, oh, thumbs up. Like, yeah. So who is Kamiza Chikula for somebody who is watching this and they're like, who's this well-voiced?
Well, Kamiza Chikula is a pure Zambian, born and raised right here in Lusaka. I was born in 1975 in the University Teaching Hospital. I've lived in Lusaka all my life, the son of 2 retired teachers who were very, very key and instrumental in my communications journey. So my parents were always very, very strict about how I presented myself. They didn't allow me to speak funny English. When you spoke to them, you had to be sure you had lined up your language, your pronouns and your tenses. And when you spoke, they would correct you.
Yeah.
So no, that's not how we speak English. Especially my dad.
Yeah.
My mom was a bit more lenient, but my dad was a stickler for perfect prose and grammar. He made sure you spoke the language right. And so I grew up in Lusaka's Livala area and went to Nkwazi Primary School. Then after that, I went to Livala High School. And that was a really important time in my formative years.
Yeah.
I got to experience what budding and growing into yourself looks like, because I went in a very small boy, physically and mentally too.
Yeah.
And then by the time I hit grade 10, I had a growth spurt. And that's when somehow my height showed up. And it became an opportunity for me to venture into a bit of sports, played a bit of school basketball, touch of athletics. And it was just lots of fun. But what was really, really wonderful was getting the best of, if I might call it, both worlds.
Yes.
So I had been to private school and then went to a public school. So it made me a more well-rounded individual. Okay. And I think one thing that I'm gifted with is I'm able to interact with anybody. I don't have any issues interacting with just about any person I come across.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one thing I've learned is that children imitate or see what parents do. What are the things you picked up from your parents? You said you hail from parents who were teachers and they taught you the Queen's language at that time, because now it's changed.
Now it's the King's language. Sounds weird saying that.
Yeah. So what are things which you caught on and which you now use as you've grown? Now you're married, you're a father. We'll talk about that. But what were things which you caught on from them, which you still use till date?
From my mom, I picked up respect for everybody. Mm-hmm. She was headmistress at one of Lusaka's largest schools, Lusaka Girls. And despite her being headmistress, I would see her and hear her addressing teachers who were reporting to her as sir and madam. And I said to myself, but she's the boss, sir. How? Mom's the boss. Why? Why is she calling this man sir? And he reports to her. And it taught me something. It taught me something about humility. And she would be humble enough to refer to these gentlemen as sir and not demean them or belittle them in any way or form. And that, for me, was a major lesson. From Dad, I learned the art of candor. Now, my dad was a straight shooter. He didn't mince his words. He told you like it was. And he didn't care if it was offensive. He told you, if I don't like what's happening, I'm going to let you know. I think that combination has held me in good stead. I'm not afraid to tell a person to their face, what you're doing is not right here. I'm not feeling this. But also by the same token, I have great respect for everybody I come across. Because one philosophy that the family holds dear to is everybody deserves respect. And that's something that was instilled in us continuously. There would be fists of fury from Dad if he heard that you were disrespecting someone in the neighborhood. No, he didn't tolerate swear words. He didn't tolerate belittling and demeaning speech towards other people. He didn't like that. So those are two key lessons.
I know you're a devoted Christian.
Yes, sir.
So was that as well in the household?
Yes, very much so. Again, Mom was very, very diligent. One thing that shocked me about her is she was, again, headmistress. So I grew up going places being, this is Mrs. Chikula's son. I would flex. And they know my mom. But what very few people knew is that on Saturday afternoons, Mom would dedicate her time to go to church and do decorations. So she'd put flower arrangements, and that was a behind-the-scenes job that nobody knew. Sunday morning, people go into church and they see these beautiful flower arrangements and they're thinking, it's nice, and have no clue that the headmistress of Lusaka Girls was the one who spent her entire Saturday afternoon setting that up. And she would take me along, and watching that, it gave me an attitude of servitude. And not servitude where front and center, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing. But servitude where you're doing it because your heart desires to do it and you're passionate about it. And it's not for the accolades or the praise or people saying, great job, because nobody knew. I mean, so that blew me away. That really set the tone for how I live my life. And it's something I try to emulate as much as possible.
Awesome. And I do see from your Facebook the time you spend as well at church, serving in different departments. That's very commendable, because I do know that as one grows in the corporate ladder, the majority of people begin to slack in terms of service at church. And that's
Thank you so much. That keeps me alive.
Yeah,
that keeps me alive. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to stand in front of VVIPs, but nothing compares to being able to serve God, eh?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm reminded of David, where he says, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house
That's
of the Lord.
That's it, 100%. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere.
Yeah. Awesome. So in your bio, we read how you moved and evolved in the corporate space. So walk us through your journey through school, your studies, and then how you found yourself in the corporate.
Right. Quite a journey, eh? God's been good again. So I completed my secondary school studies in 1992 and immediately got a job at the then Roma supermarket as a Man Friday. I was the guy who swept the floor, mopped the floor, offloaded the truck when stock was brought in, loaded that stock onto the shelves and did stock taking, carried people's groceries out when they purchased in the supermarket. And I did that and I felt really proud of myself, and I was telling Dad, Dad, this is great. I think I can do night school now. And he laughed.
Yeah.
He says, you're enjoying the independence of earning. There's no study. No. When you go to school, you'll go to school properly. You'll go in full time. And he said words I've never forgotten. He says, you can use your physique and earn very little, or you can use your brain and earn a lot more. I was like, but this is retrogressive. Why is he being like this?
Yeah.
I later appreciated why he did that. And after I had done that stint for close to a year, an opportunity came through and it says, okay, it's time for you to go into some tertiary education. Yep. And I was solidly locked in. I said, I want IT. It was a buzzword. It was a thing coming out for early 90s. No. Hey, IT. I said, okay. And he took one look at me and he says, so explain this IT thing to me. Yep. And I explained, it's computers, And he laughed.
Yeah.
Says, that's not you. I was like, no, but Dad, that's not you. He says, marketing.
Okay.
That's for you. And I threw a fit. No, Dad.
You thought he was trying to live his dream.
Exactly. And then he just laid down the law. I told you he was a straight shooter. He just says to me, well, you're either doing marketing or you're not going to college. I said, okay, I'm doing marketing. And that was the end of that debate. Yeah. And that's how I enrolled at the Zambia Institute of Management to do the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Did it all the way through to postgrad diploma. Graduated with that. But then work wasn't showing up, eh? Unfortunately, mid-90s and on, marketing wasn't really where it is today. Yeah. It was sort of, that thing that these people do, they talk a lot. You ask the person what marketing is, they just say, those guys who talk a lot. Yeah. And so in a quest for something to do, I stumbled upon radio. Okay. And that stumbling on radio was a godsend situation. So Radio Phoenix had burnt down. And after it burnt down, they set up a temporary base at the then multimedia offices in Kaulonga. But they had lost all their libraries, all the station IDs and all the content that they'd created was gone. Yeah. So they put out an ad and said, we're looking for new voices. And my then girlfriend, now wife, came to tell me about it because her brothers had heard this advert and she quotes, they said, whatever guy will take a broadcaster's voice. The guy with the broadcaster's voice should give it a go. Yeah. And I said, what? I'm not doing anything. I may as well. So I went in, submitted my paperwork and was called for an audition. What I didn't know is the initial audition had about 200 people. And then they started to trim that down. And I ended up being one of the few people that was selected to be a voice at Radio Phoenix. That's what gave me access to microphones. Okay. And I would then have opportunities to spend the day with guys who were doing sound. And I'm a sponge. When I'm in an environment that I don't know really well, I always ask questions.
Yeah.
And I would ask, so what is that you did? What is that effect? They say, oh, no, that's reverb. Oh, okay. Not too much, just enough to fill out your voice. Okay. And of course, back then, equipment wasn't as readily available as it is now. So to have an opportunity to be with high-tech equipment was fantastic. Did radio adverts, did a radio show called I Can Dance on Friday evenings at Radio Phoenix. And in the passage of time, I ended up getting a job which was leaning more towards what I used to do, and that was in sales. So I went to work for a company called Kaumbe as a sales rep. Did that for a little while. It wasn't my cup of tea. I kept doing the radio thing, and then voiceover started coming through because people had heard me and were asking me to do voiceover work. So that became quite lucrative, and it sustained me for quite a while. And then Mondo Music opened up, and I was told, hey, we're looking for someone to do marketing and sales. And I said, I'll sign up. And under the tutelage of Mr. Chisha Folotia, did a lot of work there. All the first 5 albums that the company rolled out, every single CD or cassette that was in the stores, I physically put there.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm very, very proud of that. I did my little bit in the renaissance of Zambian music.
Awesome.
And thereafter, a job showed up because I kept doing a bit of studies. So I added a certificate in insurance at Zibic, and a job showed up at Nico Insurance as a junior underwriter, and I went for it. I worked there for a good while. I actually got married while I was working at Nico Insurance. Wonderful people who really, really turned the company into family. They put together money and bought us some amazing wedding gifts. Where they tell you, what's your wish list? And so who does that?
Yeah.
You're like, we want, and everything on the list they bought. And it's like, wow. Where the GM, who was the head honcho, says, oh, do you have a vehicle to use on your wedding day? Like, here's my Mercedes. And it's like, wow. So had a really great time there. And then again, by divine providence, one day we're driving off I was going to drop off my wife at work and going for my own work. And she just said, let's buy a newspaper. No, we didn't really buy a paper. There was no need because we would read it at the office. And she buys this newspaper and opens it up, and there's an advert. But it's one of those mystery ads where they say, we're looking for a public relations specialist, a multinational company. And she says, why didn't you try for this? I was like, okay, may as well. Tried for it. And at that time, I'd actually done a quick move because I was now working for Habitat for Humanity. Because the comms opportunity had opened up, and I was the resource mobilization and communications manager. So I gave that a go. Lo and behold, when the call came to go for interviews, the company was MultiChoice Zambia. And again, very competitive, lots of rounds of interviews, even being asked to do a presentation to the CEO and explain things to him just so that they could see what you're really made of. Got that job, and that was the start of my walk proper in the PR and marketing space. From there, lots of movement. I then went to the then Barclays Bank, a very short stint. I served there as communications manager for 6 months, and then swung across to Standard Chartered Bank, where I started out as head of sales, a national head of sales, and then became regional head of marketing, which was a really, really fun job. Got to do a lot of traveling, and I learned a lot because, that Standard Chartered was quite a massive machine, especially in the Far East. You got to see really, really innovative things going on there before they had reached the continent out here. And my final job was with Stanbic Bank, where I was head of marketing and communications. And that's where I said, okay, I've done enough in the corporate leagues. Let's see what's out there. And I look back now, and it'll be 10 years in August the 31st. This year will be 10 years of being out and about on my own, doing my own thing.
Okay, awesome. Now, in your bio, we saw that you had started Feyra Communications in 2015.
Yes, when it was registered.
I do remember, I think the first interaction, I think I had asked what Pharaoh means. And you're like, oh, it's Luangwa.
Yes.
So the old
yes.
name of Luangwa. Like,
Yes.
oh, like, oh, okay. Awesome name. Like nobody would think through, like colonial names, we try and throw them away and all. Like,
that's home.
Yeah. So, speaking of your journey, how about, was it an easy step to just step away from the corporate space? Because I do understand that in the corporate space, there's a guaranteed, whether you make profit or not, you're guaranteed that you get a paycheck at the end of the month or week or the year. So how was it? How was the transition? Was it just like you wake up and be like, I'm doing this? Like,
it was scary.
Yeah.
It was very scary. You're walking away from, like you say, a guaranteed salary where whatever happens, even if I spend an entire month not doing much, because I signed a contract, my salary is guaranteed. It's coming. To actually making your own salary. Yeah. It was a very scary step, but it was a step which, if I didn't take at that time, I would never have been courageous enough to take. So things lined up perfectly to allow me to do that. At the time I took that leap of faith, my wife had gone to the United Kingdom to study for her master's in business administration, and she had taken out our then 2 daughters with her, and they spent a year and a half in the UK. So when I called her one day and said, I'm feeling completely empty, I'm burnt out, she laughed and she says, I could have told you that a year ago. You've been running on fumes. And I said, I'm thinking of just walking away. Yeah. And she says, do it. Says, do it. No time like the present for you to make this happen, because right now you're flying solo. So run. We're good on this side. I mean, our rentals are sorted. For the duration of the stay, we're okay. So make it happen. And then she said words that I really held on to, because you need words that you need to cling to. She says, there's no way you'll fail. Yeah. I know what you're capable of. You will manage. I was like, what? When your wife tells you stuff like that, you feel like Superman. You're pulling your shirt over. It's like, I'm up and away. And I really bought into that. Yeah. And went for it. But it's one thing to believe it. It's another thing to actually see it start happening. Yeah. And the first few weeks were very frightening, where you wake up and you're like, okay. And first week is good because you're resting. Yeah. You're sleeping in and like, no pressure. But then it dawns on you that the fact that you're sleeping means you're not working.
And you have to break certain routines.
Exactly. Now you've got to start changing up how you think, and you've got to start resetting. What really frightened me first was the jobs weren't coming in regularly. The ones that did were not the greatest of jobs. You have someone come to you and tell you, hey, listen, we would like a voiceover. Oh, great. And you're excited because they're like, let's do it. Yeah. What is it for? And it's like, it's for an opaque beer. And like,
It doesn't align with your values.
Like, wait, is this what I have become? And you start thinking to yourself, what have I done here? But gratefully, hanging in there and not losing hope, the jobs then started to roll in. And what was interesting is the power of networking, where people who he had interacted with, and I think that was just an epiphany dropped by God. Just contact people and let them know that you've left, and let them know that you're doing your own thing now. And so I'd call up people and say, hey, how are you doing? It's been a while. I just wanted to let you know I'm on my own now. I'm no longer with the bank. And they're like, for real? Yeah, we've always wanted to work with you. We actually have an event. So would you be able to MC it? I said, yeah, sure thing. Yeah. Before long, I was doing events for other banks. And then not too far after that, my former employers started calling me up, including Stanbic. In fact, Stanbic was the first bank that called me back, because they were doing a week-long energy and mining symposium, a locally funded one. Yeah. They said, we want someone to anchor this. And so I had a week-long gig. I was like, this is nice.
And you had experience because you knew.
That's the thing, because they told me to my face, but you know the brand back to front, so you don't need to go off and start getting briefed about what we stand for. You know our values. Just do it. Yeah. And before long, the Stanvik Music Festival came along and they said, hey, you were part of the people that were putting this together before you left. So, no, we're not wasting time looking for someone else.
Yeah.
Come through and MC this. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that since then, and I've MC'd everyone since that time. And it's just been a wonderful journey after that. But truth be told, the first few weeks were frightening.
Okay. You mentioned something, relationships. Speaking on that, you transitioned from different organizations, and from what I'm able to tell is that you are one person who pretty much got along with the masses. And so what's the importance of one, making sure that whatever environment or space you find yourself in, you build solid relationships? Yeah.
It holds you in good stead. Don't, I think remember when we talked about what I learned from my mom?
Yes.
Just showing respect to everybody within the organization, regardless of their standing or their position. Because there are people who only respect people who are their peers or their seniors, but everybody else below them, they treat like dirt. Yeah. That will not help you at all, especially when you hit the streets and decide to start running. Those people suddenly have influence.
Yeah.
And for me, it got to a place where, to this day, I can walk into any place that I worked at and I'll run into people that I knew. Starting from guards,
Yeah.
And boss, and have a chat.
Yeah.
And just taking time to remember what people are all about. Remember what you laugh about with one person. If they're Barca supporter, for example, you
hammer them.
The banter continues. It just helps you along life's way, because you just never know when these people will have a say in making your life easy, making your life difficult. And the guys I would get in touch with and I would meet in the offices, boss, what brings you here? Like, no, I'm following up on a payment that's overdue. Says, no, wait here. Person runs around and says, no, I found the sticking point. It was stuck in so-and-so's office. It'll be sorted out. It'll hit your account today. Yeah. And you're like, wow, okay. And there's one place where when I go, people laugh and say, the mayor is back. But it really just helps you. Not because you want anything in return, but just a genuine concern for people. And people can tell when you really care or when you're trying to manipulate them for something. But just invest in taking time out to just say hello to everybody who you work in proximity with. Just find out their name, find out a little something about them. People feel appreciated and they feel seen. And that will just help you. But I'm an extrovert with an introvert side too, because I like my own time.
Yeah.
But I think we all need to just cultivate that ability to get to know people better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Through the conversation, you have talked about your wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Walk us through your journey with her, because through this, I'm getting a sense of family for you is the biggest anchor. Oh. It's your backbone. If anything goes wrong, you know to say, hey, I have home to run to and I am safe. Like
100%.
Yeah. So family, how did you meet your wife? And because I know your first gig, your wife's brothers were the ones.
That's it. So they have a part to play in the story.
Yeah.
So I met my wife at a youth camp, and we were just kids, just kids. I had the privilege of being camp chief at that youth camp. And so I had the ability to exit sessions and go and check what's happening in the kitchen and then pass on information. A guest speaker, no, the food is not ready in the kitchen. Could we continue just a couple more songs, and so forth. But on the day that the group that my wife was in was cooking, and I noticed that she was like pulling strings and coordinating stuff. And I was like, this is impressive.
Yeah.
And then when she blew me away she was genuinely caring about everybody around. And she asked me, have you eaten? I said, no, don't worry, I'll eat later. You know how when there's someone you're interested in, you become hyperactive in their space. You want them to see that you're really working. Yeah. So at one point, she just grabbed me by the hand and said, come here, sit down. Here's some food. And I was like,
you care.
This is it. So I told my very, very good friend and dear brother, I whispered to her, I said, Uzia, uyangasunge nyumba.
Yeah.
She can look after her home. And he says, you know what? I know her and I know her family really well. They're wonderful people. And if you're serious, I can take you there so that, you get to know her a bit better. Yeah. But only if you're serious. I'm not taking someone there who's a clown and who's going to play games. I said, no, but you know me. And so one fine day we went over, and that's the clincher was we got there. We had told her, no, so we'll see you because we're singing the same choir at this time. And I said to her, hey, listen, we'll visit on such and such a day. And she says, oh, fantastic. You'll find me. I'll be at home. We got there and we found her pounding groundnuts, in a person motor, wrapped up in a kachitenge and just like a top. I said, this one is real. So I reiterated the words, Uyu angasunge nyumba.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of a really great friendship. And I think that was the key to where we started. We started out as friends, just sharing interests and having laughs about life. Before we decided, where are we going with this? Yeah. And decided, actually, okay, cool. Boyfriend and girlfriend. And started our journey. Yeah. So if we do a segue to the time when I was still trying to get formally employed,
yes,
I was doing voiceovers, and that allowed me to earn a bit of cash. So she at the time was doing her first program in accountancy at NIPA. And I would go off and help out and say, oh, cool. So you need, no problem. You need a manual. I've got you.
Yeah.
Pick up the tab for that. And that became the norm, where when she needs something, I'll go for it. But interesting occurrence is that while I was still looking for work, she completed her studies and got a job. Mm-hmm. So I'm jobless and hustling, and she's got this job. And then again, she showed this incredible heart where she would have a half day on Saturdays, and she was working out in Woodlands at the then Woodlands Shopping Center. Mm-hmm. And she says, are you coming to pick me up today? I'm like, we've always been honest with each other. I've got no transport money. She says, no, just make your way here. I've got you covered. Oh, okay, cool. And so if there's one thing I know, it's shortcuts in Lusaka. I can get from anywhere to anywhere in Lusaka. I'll show you paths. It's just that there's so much construction that's happened now. But I would walk. So I walked from Chadley and made my way to Woodlands, via Kalingalinga, into Kablonga. But there's always a little mileage reducer in the pockets. So you wipe your shoes and you look like you've stepped out of a Benz.
Yeah.
So got there and she says, let's head home. I said, but I told you, I don't know. She says, no, don't worry. So we jumped on the bus, and then she did something that day. When we got onto the bus and the conductor says, next, instead of paying, she put the money in my hands. Says, pay. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow. So you probably chest out, 2. Yeah. Yeah, 2 town. not knowing that you're being funded. Yeah. But that showed me how much respect she had for me. And it's something that she's always had. She respects me, but is firm enough to be able to oppose me when she knows something is a mess. She's like, nope, this isn't it. So firm, but respectful. And before long, we just knew, you know what, this is meant to be. We're not just doing a little journey here. We want to spend the rest of our lives together. Yeah. Got word to our parents, and they were very agreeable and acceptable and said, we've seen how you two conduct yourselves, so we have no doubt that you'll look after each other. Yeah. And long story short, on the 14th of April, 2001, we made it official and got married and haven't looked back since. Awesome. So it'll be 23 years this April. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think, was it a few months ago, you were doing, I think it was a competition, a reading competition.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, we've been friends, I think, on Facebook for a long time. So I get to see what you're doing and all. Yeah. And it's worth emulating. I was, look, you've mentioned that your parents taught you in a certain way. Yeah. And I believe you caught on that, and that's what you're passing on to your children. We're running in a time or society where, number one, children are massively on gadgets, doing their own stuff. There's no proper monitoring on what's happening. How have you managed, or you're still managing? How have you dealt with that in making sure that, number one, the family is firmly grounded in God's word and principles and navigating through life? So,
The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. When they grow, they will not depart. We have a very limited window in which to be able to influence our children. And once that window passes, they're gone. They will have formed their own opinions. So what we've done is, aside from telling them what our faith is all about, we live it out for them and make sure they're exposed to the faith from an early age. It's something, gratefully, we've got children who value family as well. Our kids, our parents on both sides would tell you things like, what have you done to these children? What do you mean? Say, they'll be here and having fun. And as soon as it starts getting dark, they start asking, when is mommy coming to pick me up? What time is daddy picking me up? And you can tell they want to be at home. So the family unit is a big deal. We enjoy each other's company. So we spend a lot of time together. One's flown the coop now. Our firstborn has gone to university, but we had the privilege of having her back home for Christmas, this past Christmas. And it was madness in the house. It was as if she had never left, fitted right in. The bonds are still solid. And when you start hearing from people that are interacting with her, where she is, that, hey, you've done a great job raising this one. She's polite. She shows her faith. She lives out her faith out here. It's heartwarming. So you smile and say, we're grateful that we had an opportunity to be able to instill values, Christian values in these children, and that they snagged on. They've got free wills. Some kids just say, I don't believe in this stuff. But gratefully, thank God, our kids do believe in God, and they hold that as their anchor to wherever they will go and whatever they become as they grow older.
The other day, I saw a post on your Facebook. You were with your friends. You were doing a prostate examination.
That's right.
What's the importance of having friends or a company of people holding you accountable? Because I feel that's what's missing now. And I want you to speak to a male, a boy, child, a male, a father as well, because the generation or society is being hit because number one, families are broken down, men are not rising up to the occasion to take up and speak. So what's the importance of having?
I can't overstate the importance. So what I would like to highlight is make good friends early in life. Good, solid friends whose values and core belief system matches your own. Those will be friends for life. As we grow older, we make friends, but a lot of the friendships are pretty superficial. By no fault of their own. So it's a friendship because, we work in the same environment. It's a friendship because you supply this to that person's company. And so, hey, good to see you, buddy. Hey, how are things? But those aren't deep. Those aren't deep-rooted friendships. They're shallow. The friendships that last are the ones that you've transitioned through different stages in life. We like to laugh and say we've grown from boys to men together. The closest friends I have are friends that I've known from the 1990s. And my oldest friend is a friend I went to school with in primary school. And we're still in constant communication. But like the four friends I would turn to on any given day, I like to call them, quoting from something I read, 4 crazy friends. These are friends who would be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure you're okay. But the one common denominator amongst all good male friends is they should be willing to risk the very friendship for the sake of telling you the truth and telling you what's real. Where they tell you to your face, no, you've messed up. What you don't need is people all around you who just cheer you on even though you've done wrong. Say, no, It's like, but what's this?
Sanga about me.
Oh man, come on, you're not the first one. No.
Yeah.
Should we know you're better than that? What's this rubbish? What's going on? Like, no, sort yourself out. What's this? And all of my friends have that characteristic. They'll be able to tell me to my face, no, this is not what it's about.
Yeah.
But it takes fellow men to know how to be men. So a band of brothers who will support you and sustain you in the hard times where, we unfortunately are told to suppress our emotions as boys. Be strong. No, there are moments when a man needs to just let it out.
Yeah.
And that's why you have people trying to make the world convinced that they're okay. No, we're not. How's things? Things are great. But things are not great. Yeah. You should be able to say, guys, things are rough.
Yeah.
A safe space. Obviously, we don't want every man going off and crying to the whole world.
Yeah.
But you need to have those safe friends who you can go to. And in the midst of that situation, they'll say, how can we help? What is it that you need from us?
Yeah.
Even if it means just sitting with you in that moment of weakness and helping strengthen you. Saying a word that will help you out. In some instances, it's not even material support. Yeah. It's really just knowing that there's somebody I can turn to in the midst of my problems. Yeah. And we should drive ourselves to a place where we move from just friends to family, where these people become brothers that you got to handpick for yourself. And they hold us in good stead and keep us afloat in the roughest of days. And in the best of times, we smile. My closest friends have all been instrumental at every stage of my life. Yeah. They were my best men. I was their best man. And we're there for each other in all the significant moments. Yeah. Whenever there's a bereavement, we're there for each other. When there's a celebration in the family, they're the first people you think of. Where the friendships got to a place where you could go to each other's homes when we're still living with our parents. Yeah. Your friend's not there, but you show up and say the dad's doing something in the garden and you just say, oh, cool. And you just jump in. It's not even an issue of, can I help out? You just say, instinctively, this is home. Yeah. By the time your buddy's coming in, it's like, like, no, just helping out dad. No, we don't need you. We're good. Yeah. And that's continued. So it's important. Lives will become busy, but we make it a point that we meet every single month without exception, just to talk and just to find a safe space where we can communicate. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Coming back to your voiceover work.
Yes, sir.
What's been your best so far? The best so far, like where you look back, say, I hammered that one.
Yeah, that's like asking someone to choose their favorite child. It's difficult, eh? Yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because each one has this uniqueness to it, especially that different directors want different things out of you. Yeah. But I think the ones that have been the most fun have been the ones where I'm asked to delve into actual emotions and deliver those through voice. Commercials are easy. Yeah. It's retail, it's a hard sell and you're just buzzing. But where you have to dive deep and start finding emotional twists and triggers. So one ad that takes you...
So instead of saying the best, which one do you feel was the most impactful? Not just it going out, but to yourself, where you were like going through it and you're like, how will I deliver this? I would have to say it was actually the first time I had to dive deep and start feeling rather than just reading. And it was for the late Marsha Moyo. She was holding a concert and she asked me to do a voiceover for her. And it was about 5 lines long and each line said something and it just put out information. But the way she wanted to deliver it, because she was a perfectionist, an absolute perfectionist. And I had to dig deep. So that left me saying, I actually have capacity to change my emotions in an advert and not just read it flatline and sound like it's a shopping list. So I look back at that because that was a turning point, I think, in my delivery. And that's when I learned something new. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You have emceed events.
Quite a few.
How is it emceeing an event where the head of state is there?
You never get used to it.
Yeah.
But you must not be overwhelmed by the occasion. Mm-hmm. You have a genuine respect for what's happening and who's going to be there. Mm-hmm. But through it all, just maintain composure. It's, someone said to me, the day you stop being nervous is the day you start messing up, because then you're cocky.
Yeah.
You think you know it all.
Yeah.
And to this day, there's no day when I don't feel nervous, even if it's not the head of state, just any event.
Yeah.
You don't walk in there thinking, I've got this locked down, I've figured it out. Because I then got an understanding that being nervous isn't you being afraid.
Yeah.
It's actually you valuing what you do so much that you don't want to mess it up. And that's what causes the nerves.
Yeah.
You're not doubting your capability. You're not doubting your delivery. But you're thinking to yourself, no, if I mess this up, things won't be nice.
Yeah.
So it's quite overwhelming. And I'll tell you now, those are the moments when the event is done and you're walking out of there and saying, how did this happen? Like, Lord, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And, you go back to young you, and I constantly revisit young me, and I say, but I wasn't confident. I doubted myself. I didn't know I had this ability. And for me, that's what keeps me on an even keel and keeps me on the straight and narrow. The knowledge that it's not my capability and my ability. It's just God's grace that makes me able to do what I do. Okay. So I would never be crazy enough to venture away from God because He's been good. He has allowed me to do this. Yeah.
We if it had not been for the Lord, it would have been consumed.
Long ago.
Awesome. What's your dream project? Do you have a dream project or a dream collaboration?
Oof. Yeah, there are a few. Okay. There are a few. I would love to do one of the international events, Yeah, like the really big events.
Which one? Is it like Wimbledon? Is it the World Cup? Is it...
Spot on. The World Cup. If there was a possibility to be able to do something at the World Cup, my goodness. That's a dream. Yeah. That's a dream.
I think, even AFCON can...
Oh, yeah. That would be huge. Yeah. That would be huge.
Hopefully Zambia will host it.
I will camp outside whoever's office it is to try and lobby to be able to... It's like, can I just do one announcement? Just one. I don't even need to be anywhere on stage.
Yeah. But have you done any of the Zambian national team ones, like the stadium announcing?
No, not yet, Not yet, but someday. Someday. Yeah. I hope someone's listening and watching.
Yeah, definitely. It's been registered, so because look, it's now a global village, so you're no longer locked up to say you can't do stuff elsewhere, and now you can you do your work from here.
Exactly.
Immediately they send in their specifics on what you have to use. You send your stuff and. Goes to the rest of the world,
and that has been the greatest transition in the industry.
Yeah,
I moved from a place where no one owned their own equipment. Yeah. You had to go to a radio station or a studio. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, it was DB Studios. Yeah, Uncle Peter, amazing man. Yeah, reel to reel, and you had to do a perfect take.
Yeah.
So
nothing like mistake.
No. Now we're like, no, cut. No, scrub this. Pause. No, try it again like this. Okay, take that. Yeah, okay. So that first take, and then the third take. Yes. So splice those. Okay, how does it? Yeah, that sounds good. No. There you read through your script. You got it right. You marked where you wanted to do your intonations and where you wanted your emphasis, and then you read it. Mm-hmm. I still like to challenge myself and see if I can do perfect takes. Yeah. It's only when I get really tired to say, okay, fine, I'm sure I've got enough content, and then start listening through and scrubbing. Yeah. But that transition to be able to record at home now and send out your material where you've got your own gear, even on the go. Because that's the challenge with being a voiceover artist.
Yeah.
Work will show up wherever you are. So I never leave home without the capability to record.
Yeah.
I've become king of recording in the closet with creating padding out of pillows and duvets, or recording in the car as well. That's also a great booth. But that has been a saving grace. And it's helped out a lot because I do quite a bit of work for DStv now. And I record in Lusaka and send the material out for them to then do final mix. And that is just a major blessing to be able to access information in real time and access the best plugins and also actually have a director listening in and telling you, no, I didn't like that. Could you do it again, but this time a bit slower? Yeah. And this person is a person you've never even met. Yeah.
What was your feeling listening to yourself on a big platform like DStv for the first time?
So the inner critic kicked in.
Yeah.
And I'm listening and I'm like, I could have done that better. And I think that's something I need to teach myself to do, to just say, oh, this was good.
Yeah.
I'm very critical. And I think you have to be critical to be able to stay on top of the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes they send you a script and there's no director. So you've got to be able to say, no, not quite. And try again. And before long, you've got 3 or 4 takes and you can't decide. And send all 4 and say, okay, your call. You have an unbiased ear, but I'm not hearing everything. They say, no, we actually liked what you did there. The fact that you sent 4. So we liked your start in this one. And we've actually mixed and matched. And this is what we've ended up with. Yeah. But aside from being critical, I then sat down and slapped myself and said, just appreciate the moment. And I was like, wow, I'm going across the continent.
Yeah.
I'm on a digital platform here. I'm doing some work for an entity that is global. Yeah. And so that put a smile on my face.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I was very grateful in that moment.
Yeah. Okay. So before we close, we spoke about the state functions. And,
yes.
What was your first state function and how did it feel? Who was the head of state at that particular point?
The very first, where they actually called and said, Mr. Chikula, we want you to do this event, and the head of state will be obviously officiating. That would have been President Lungu.
Okay.
Yes. And I got a call and I got told, this function is at State House. You're going to be emceeing and you're going to be looking after the event. I was like, wait, what? I had done a few events where you have a guest of honor come through and the senior official and all, but like an actual event where, you are anchoring it and you are in charge. And so I sat there and I said, wow, okay, this is actually happening. And we're actually doing this. Yeah. And went off and did the event, and it was surreal. It was quite surreal to walk into State House knowing I'm going to work. Yeah. I'm not here, to cover the event. I'm not here to shoot. I'm not here to
just sit and
just say, okay, but I'm actually going to be holding that mic and addressing the head of state.
And crack a joke and make him laugh.
Avoid that at all costs. If humor happens, it happens.
Yeah,
but if you go in with
planning to say no,
it never ends well. It never ends well. I've seen people crash and burn trying to do that. So I think it's also an issue of, I got there and I knew, because of years of understanding, that you never get familiar with dignitaries.
Yes.
You go there with the respect that's due, but you're not afraid, Don't be afraid, because then you're going to be shaking and it will show. Confident enough to know, okay, I've been selected because I can do this job, but also respectful enough to know, this is not my friend I'm dealing with. I'm interacting with an actual head of state. Yep. So the right level of dignity and respect that is due. And it went by like a dream, where the event is coming to an end and the national anthem is playing and you're like, what just happened? It was almost as if I was on the outside watching myself working. But afterwards, officials came over and said, "Good job, young man. Good job. Good job. Yeah, we'll call on you again."
Yeah.
And that's always a sigh of relief because okay, I didn't mess up.
Yeah.
And I've carried on doing state functions. But I must hasten to add that it's important to stay low profile in your own life. Mm-hmm. You can't be going off and doing crazy things that will put you in bad light.
Yeah.
The moment that happens, it's a disgrace to have you anywhere near the head of state.
Yeah. So a good name is.
That's it. Your reputation is all you've got. So steer clear of crazy situations. And if you've noticed, I'm very, very measured in even my commenting on Facebook. There are certain topics I just won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Politics is one of them. So I'm completely apolitical and I'm completely non-partisan. I belong to the Republic of Zambia.
I know you use, so politics you steer away, but football.
Football? No. There I'm a fanatic. Borderline soccer hooligan. Yeah. That's what someone was saying. He says, "Brother, you're such a wonderful brother in the Lord, but football, which is savage." I said, no, I mean, that's football. So the lines are drawn there. If you support Barca, we can't be friends.
Yeah. Awesome. So your philosophy, even as we close, is to remain a champion, think and train like a contender.
Yes.
Why is that? Even as you talk to somebody, even as we close.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite simple. The moment you start to think and train or behave like a champion, you're no longer hungry. You're no longer pushing yourself. Mm-hmm. There's always someone who's got a target on your back. Yeah. They want to be better than you. Mm-hmm. But it becomes very difficult to catch a person who constantly has a target on their own back where they want to be better than their last version of themselves. Mm-hmm. So that philosophy is basically saying, whatever it is you do, keep pushing yourself to be better and never get complacent and figure, I've arrived. Mm-hmm. Put in the work, constantly imagine you haven't made it, because then you keep improving and upgrading yourself and keep forcing yourself to get better. Put in the prep work, put in the research, put in the effort. And it doesn't matter if the event is for 2 people or 2,000. Show up like a professional. Each and every time, even when I'm doing pro bono work, it's not that when I go off and do a freebie, I'm going to give them a substandard presentation. I will present as if they're paying me corporate rate, because all that I have to go on is my own drive. Because nobody's going to be there cheering. Eh? You've got to know that I'm going out there and I've got to be the very best. Yep. And what drives that is knowing that there will be a day when that event that I do will be the very last event I do on this planet. Yep. And God forbid that people say, I know that something was wrong. He wasn't himself. No. I'd like people to say, oof, man, he was on fire that day.
He went out with a bang.
He was a bang in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's the philosophy. Just keep pushing yourself. Never get happy with what you've achieved. Just constantly drive, because we have unlimited capacity to get better and to keep improving. There's always something you can tweak and make better than it was before. So that's my drive and motivation.
Awesome. Glad to have had these conversations. Amazing insights, nuggets. I think you should write a book.
Oh, wow. I owe quite a few people books now. I've been told that. But for the record, there are a couple of manuscripts that I've started putting together. A book will be in the offing soon. Yeah,
because they've been, I know we haven't touched on some of the other things, but feel, we've touched on a lot. And the beautiful thing is the anchor who is Jesus Christ in your life, and how you bring that out. Learning from scripture is even as you serve and even as you work, do it as if you're doing it unto the Lord. And,
Yes, sir.
and we've been able to see that. And Jesus Christ excellently portrayed in the corporate space. So
That's right.
That's good to see and be able to hear. So yeah, thank you very much for honoring our invitation and coming through to the Umubanga podcast.
It's been a privilege to be here. I'm truly honored that you invited me. And I hope and pray that someone will be touched by this. And I pray that it'll make someone's life better to have shared, so that they avoid the pitfalls and the errors that were made by people like me, so that they get better than we are. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking to Zambia's best voiceover artist.
You're far too kind.
Put your hands together for the one and only Kamiza Chikula. Yeah, so honored. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Umubanga YouTube channel. Inform somebody so that they can be motivated, so they can be transformed, inspired, and do greater works. So from me, Dennis Mubanga Kabwe, it's bye-bye.